Clara moved silently through the opulent halls of the corporation, her cleaning cart trailing lightly behind her. The polished marble floors gleamed under the fluorescent lights, reflecting the nervous energy that filled the air. She paused for a moment, her eyes sweeping across the luxurious office spaces where employees were bustling about, adjusting their ties, smoothing their blouses, and glancing at their watches. Today was the day of the crucial meeting, and Clara could sense the weight of their unspoken anxieties. In a corner of the expansive conference room, Clara spotted Jack, the charismatic CEO, pacing back and forth. His sharp suit complemented his authoritative presence, but even he seemed to carry the burden of the impending discussion. "We need to address the decline in sales," Clara heard him mutter to himself, his brow furrowing in thought. She wished she could understand the full scope of the meeting, but her world was enveloped in silence, and the cacophony of fears and hopes remained unheard. As employees gathered around the long, glossy table, Clara noticed their eyes darting toward one another, as if searching for permission to speak. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Their reluctance to voice their concerns was palpable. A heavy silence hung in the air, punctuated only by the shuffling of papers and the occasional cough. Clara could see Anna, the young intern, sitting at the edge of the table, her fingers fidgeting nervously as she glanced at Jack. "Okay, team, let's get started," Jack finally announced, his voice booming and confident. "We're here to discuss our strategy moving forward." He scanned the room, his gaze lingering on the faces of his employees. "I want to hear your thoughts. Any ideas on how we can turn this around?" Clara felt an urge to intervene, to bridge the gap between Jack's voice and the silent fears of the employees. But as Jack's question hung in the air, it became evident that no one was willing to speak. The room remained eerily quiet, each person seemingly paralyzed by the fear of speaking up. Clara watched as Jack's expression shifted from hope to frustration. He was met with nothing but blank stares and averted eyes. "Come on, people. We need to collaborate here," Jack urged, his tone a mixture of desperation and encouragement. Yet, the silence persisted, an unwelcome companion in that moment. Clara's heart raced as she absorbed the gravity of the situation. Here were voices trapped within their own fears, yearning to be heard. She felt a stirring within her, a sense of duty to amplify their unspoken concerns. In that moment, Clara realized that the silence surrounding her colleagues was a reflection of their struggle, a struggle she was determined to address. Clara felt the weight of unvoiced concerns pressing down on her as she stood at the edge of the polished conference room. The glass walls reflected a tense atmosphere. The employees sat neatly in their chairs, their faces a mix of anxiety and resignation. She could sense their frustration, their longing to speak up, but each remained silent, trapped in a cycle of fear. With her heart pounding, Clara took a deep breath and approached the CEO's table, determination coursing through her veins. "Excuse me, Jack," she signed with steady hands, drawing the attention of the room. Jack looked up, eyebrows raised in surprise. "I have something to share." The murmurs of disbelief rippled across the conference table, but Clara pressed on. She began to articulate the frustrations and ideas she had overheard during her time cleaning the offices. Each sign she formed was a bridge to the unexpressed thoughts of her colleagues. "Many of us feel overlooked," she signed, her expression passionate. "We have ideas that could help improve our sales, but we fear sharing them." The room fell into an intense silence, eyes darting between Clara and Jack. Her hands moved fluidly, capturing the energy in her words, translating the unsaid emotions into a language that everyone could understand. Jack leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice softer now. Clara felt a flicker of hope. "We need to create an environment where everyone feels safe to speak up. There are solutions we haven't tapped into because we're all afraid of judgment," she signed emphatically. Her gaze swept over the employees who had been silenced for too long, their faces reflecting a mix of surprise and admiration. As she continued, Clara could feel the tension in the room shift. Jack's interest deepened, and his attention became solely focused on her. Her heart raced, fueled by the realization that she was giving a voice to the voiceless. "We need to change our approach to teamwork," she signed, her hands animated with conviction. "Let's empower everyone, not just those in leadership roles." The air crackled with a palpable energy as Clara concluded her impassioned speech. The silence that followed was different this time. It was charged with possibility. Jack nodded slowly, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Clara's heart soared. She had taken a leap of faith, and in doing so, had sparked a flicker of change that could illuminate the shadows of fear that had long lingered in the room. As the atmosphere in the conference room began to shift, Jack leaned forward, his expression a blend of curiosity and admiration. "I must say, this is a refreshing change," he remarked, his voice warm yet authoritative. "I encourage everyone to share their thoughts. Clara has shown us that we all have valuable insights." The employees exchanged glances, their initial hesitance slowly melting away under the warmth of Jack's encouragement. Clara stood poised, her hands moving gracefully in sign language, translating the thoughts of her colleagues into expressive gestures that echoed through the room. As if caught in a ripple effect, one employee finally found the courage to speak. "I've noticed that our marketing strategies haven't been resonating with our audience," said Sarah, a junior marketing analyst, her voice quivering but resolute. "We need to connect more authentically with them." Clara swiftly translated, her fingers dancing in the air, conveying Sarah's message with clarity and conviction. The room buzzed with an undercurrent of excitement, and as more employees began to share their thoughts, the once muted voices grew louder, each person eager to contribute to the conversation. "I agree with Sarah," chimed in Mark, from the finance department. "We should consider investing in more targeted campaigns instead of the broad approach we've been using." With each new voice, Clara became the bridge between the employees and the leadership. She ensured that everyone's ideas were communicated, her dedication to fostering inclusivity evident in her every motion. Jack observed the transformation unfolding before him, his heart swelling with pride for his team. "This is what I've been hoping for," he said, addressing the group. "We need to embrace this openness and make it a part of our culture moving forward." The energy in the room shifted dramatically. It was as if a weight had been lifted. Employees leaned forward, their eyes bright with newfound confidence. They felt valued, their contributions recognized, and for the first time in a long while, they understood that their voices truly mattered in shaping the company's future. Clara felt a wave of exhilaration wash over her, knowing she had facilitated this moment, a moment that would echo throughout the corporation long after the meeting ended. As Clara and Anna settled into their routine of brainstorming and drafting ideas for the diversity program, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between them. Clara, with her eager spirit, would often catch Anna smiling as she enthusiastically jotted down notes. The small conference room, often filled with tension, now echoed with laughter and animated discussions. "I can't believe how much we've accomplished in just a week," Anna said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's like we're actually making a difference." Clara nodded, her hands moving gracefully in sign language. "Every voice matters," she signed, emphasizing the importance of every employee's perspective. Anna, who had taken it upon herself to learn basic sign language, responded, "Yes. And we're giving them a platform to share their ideas." This is just the beginning. Their collaboration began to attract attention. Employees would peek into the room, curious about the lively atmosphere. Some even joined in to offer input. Clara felt a warm swell of pride as she translated their thoughts, each contribution weaving into the tapestry of their initiative. "Can we add a mentorship component?" one employee suggested, hesitantly stepping forward. "I think it would help newer team members feel more included." Anna beamed at Clara, who signed their idea back to the employee with enthusiasm. "That's brilliant. We can create a program where experienced employees guide the newcomers. It fosters relationships and builds confidence." But not everyone was pleased. From his office across the hall, the director of operations watched with a furrowed brow, his arms crossed tightly. He had always preferred the old ways, believing that change would only disrupt the status quo. As he observed Clara's growing influence, a sense of unease settled over him. "Look at them," he muttered to himself, irritation lacing his voice. "They think they can just waltz in here and change everything." He leaned back in his chair, pondering how to undermine the momentum Clara and Anna were building. Meanwhile, Clara remained blissfully unaware of the director's growing resentment. She was too focused on the potential of their program, too invigorated by the support of her colleagues. As the days passed, the energy in the office shifted. Conversations blossomed in hallways, and employees began to share stories of their experiences. Do you think the director will ever get on board with this? Anna asked one evening as they wrapped up their work. Clara shrugged, her expression earnest. We can only show him the value of inclusion. Change takes time, but we're on the right path. Anna smiled, feeling a spark of hope. Together we can make him see. As they gathered their things to leave, Clara caught a glimpse of the director lingering outside the conference room, his eyes narrowing as he watched them. She felt a shiver run down her spine, but brushed it off. With the support of her colleagues and the friendship she had formed with Anna, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Clara stood at the front of the conference room, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared to present the diversity program alongside Anna. The room buzzed with anticipation, a mix of curiosity and skepticism hanging in the air. She glanced at Jack, who offered her an encouraging nod, and she felt a surge of confidence. "Thank you all for being here today," Clara began, her voice steady though her heart raced. She signed her words, Anna seamlessly translating for her. "We are here to discuss a vision that can transform our workplace into one where every voice is heard and valued. This diversity program is not just a checklist. It's about fostering a culture of inclusion that empowers each and every employee." As Clara spoke, she noticed the mixed reactions around the table. Some employees leaned in, nodding in agreement, while others exchanged doubtful glances. The director of operations, seated at the far end, crossed his arms defiantly, his expression unreadable. "Clara, can you elaborate on how this initiative will actually work?" Jack asked, his tone encouraging yet probing. Clara gestured enthusiastically, her hands moving with purpose. "We plan to initiate regular feedback sessions where every employee can share their ideas and concerns. We want to create focus groups that represent the diverse backgrounds of our staff, ensuring everyone feels included in the decision-making process." "Sounds idealistic," the director interjected, his tone laced with sarcasm. "Do you really think people will be honest when there's a chance it could backfire on them?" Clara felt a wave of unease wash over her but remained composed. "What we've seen is that when employees feel safe to express themselves, their contributions lead to innovation. It's about building trust." Anna picked up on Clara's resolve. "We've gathered data showing that diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones. This isn't just about being nice. It's about business success." The room fell into a contemplative silence. Clara hoped her words had struck a chord, but she could sense the director's growing animosity. After the presentation, as the board deliberated, Clara and Anna exchanged worried glances. Clara could feel the tension coiling, ready to snap. The moment the board approved the initiative, a wave of relief washed over Clara. But before they could celebrate, the director stood, his voice dripping with condescension. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The real question is whether this will actually resonate with our core values." Clara's heart sank as she realized that the real battle was just beginning. She could sense the resistance mounting around her, but she was determined to protect the progress they had made. The laughter and camaraderie they had built felt precarious, like a fragile glass teetering on the edge of a table. Yet Clara knew that to back down now would mean silencing the very voices they had fought so hard to amplify. Clara stood in the center of the break room, her heart pounding as she looked around at the gathered employees. The atmosphere was tense but charged with the shared urgency of their situation. She raised her hands, calling for attention. "Let's come together and think of a plan to counter the director's sabotage," she signed, her movements fluid and confident. Anna, standing beside Clara, nodded eagerly. "We need to create a united front. If we share our stories, our experiences, it will show the director that we're not backing down," she said, her voice steady but filled with passion. The others murmured in agreement, their eyes lighting up with determination. "Let's each share what we've seen and felt since Clara started translating our voices," suggested Mark, an analyst whose quiet demeanor had often kept him from speaking up. "I've been here for 5 years, and I've never felt so unheard. Since Clara came, I feel like I actually matter." One by one, the employees began to share their experiences, each voice building upon the last. Clara signed each story, ensuring everyone's words were captured and communicated. "I never thought my suggestions about workflow could make a difference," said Lisa, the marketing coordinator, her cheeks flushed. "But with Clara's help, I feel empowered to speak up and share my ideas." As the room filled with stories of frustration and hope, Clara felt a wave of unity wash over them. It was clear that each individual's voice contributed to a greater narrative. "Our strength lies in our diversity," Clara signed passionately. "We can't let the director tear us apart." Just then, the director of operations stepped into the break room, arms crossed and a smirk on his face. "What's this? A little support group," he sneered, his tone dripping with condescension. "You really think banding together will change anything? You should all abandon this futile effort." Clara felt a surge of defiance. "We're not backing down. We're stronger together, and we won't let fear silence us anymore." The employees rallied around her, their expressions resolute. Clara realized this was just the beginning. They were no longer just a group of silenced voices but a powerful collective ready to challenge the status quo.